So now let us discuss about the Pteridophytes and Gymnosperms. So here Pteridophytes. So Pteridophytes include horsetails and ferns. So Pteridophytes are used for medicinal purposes and as soil binders. So Pteridophytes include horsetails and ferns. So these are used for medicinal purposes and as well as soil binders. They are also grown as ornamentals. So they are also frequently grown as ornamentals. So evolutionarily very important, very important. They are the first vascular terrestrial plants. So they are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues. So that is xylem and phloem. So xylem and phloem. And here the pteridophytes, the occurrence of pteridophytes. So the pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shady places, though some may flourish well in sandy soil conditions. So most of the pteridophytes are found in the cool, damp and hilly areas or shaded localities. So though some may flourish well in sandy soil conditions, right? So here and here in pteridophytes the main plant body is sporophyte, whereas in bryophytes the main plant body is gametophyte. Here the main plant body is sporophyte, so which is differentiated into true root, true stem, true leaves. True root, true stem, true leaves, whereas in bryophyte root like structures, leaf like structures, stem like structures are present. But here in pteridophytes, true root, true stem, true leaves are present. And the organs are possess well differentiated vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. And here the leaves in pteridophytes are small, very important for the objective point of view. The leaves in pteridophytes are small, called as microphyls, as in Selaginella, and leaves are large, macrophyls, as in ferns, as in ferns. And the sporophyte bears sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophyll. The sporophyte bear sporangia that are surrounded by leaf-like appendage called sporophyll. In some cases, sporophylls may form distinct compact structures called as cones or strobili. The sporophyll form distinct structures called as cones or strobili. So that is Selaginella and equisetum. Selaginella and equisetum. So here, so this is a strobilus or cone, whereas in gymnosperms it is called as lax or cone or strobili. Right. So the sporangia produces spores. The sporangia produces spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. The spores germinates to give rise to inconspicuous but small but multicellular, very very important, multicellular, free living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte called as prothallus. So that is inconspicuous, small, multicellular, small, multicellular, photosynthetic, green in color, inconspicuous, prothallus. So here it possesses rhizoids, archegonia and antheridia, So here Antheridia is multiflagellated, whereas in Bryophytes Antheridia is biflagellated, and Archegonia and Antheridia. So this is a apical notch. So these gametophyte require cool, damp, shady places to grow. So because of this specific restricted requirement and the need for water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical region. So these pteridophytes are restricted to narrow geographical region because of their requirement water for fertilization, as well as they require cool, damp, shady places to grow. So for that reason they are restricted to narrow geographical region. The most important thing is the gametophyte bear male and female sex organs called antheridia and archegonia. So water is required for transfer of antherozoids. For transfer of antherozoids, the male gametes released from the antheridia to the mouth of the archegonium. So fusion of male gamete with egg present in the archegonium result in the formation of zygote. So that is nothing but zooidogamous oogamy, just like bryophyte. Okay. So zygote thereafter produces a multicellular, well differentiated sporophyte, which is a dominant phase of the pteridophytes. Multicellular, well differentiated sporophyte, which is a dominant phase of pteridophyte. In majority of the pteridophytes, all the spores are similar kinds. Such plants are called as the homosporous. So in IPE, so there is a question homosporous and heterosporous for 4 marks. Homosporous means so plants which produce similar kind of spores called as homosporous. Example Selaginella and Salvinia, and Salvinia. And heterosporous means produce two kinds of spores. One is macro and another one is micro. Macro means large, micro means small. Okay. So here, so examples for this heterosporous spores are that is Diapteris, Pteris, Adiantum, etc. So here heterosporous examples Selaginella, Salvinia produce two kinds of spores, that is macro and micro, so are known as heterosporous. So most of the pteridophytes are homosporous in nature, whereas in bryophytes, so that is homosporous. Here most of the pteridophytes are homosporous and produce the two kinds of spores, that is macro and micro. Most of them are homosporous. Some are heterosporous. Example Selaginella and Salvinia. So here the megaspore and microspores germinate to give rise to female gametophyte respectively. Very important. So the megaspores and microspores germinate and give rise to female and male gametophytes respectively. So the female gametophytes in these plants are retained on the parent sporophytes for variable periods. In heterosporous pteridophytes, the megaspores and microspores germinate to give rise to female and male gametophyte. From the megaspore, female gametophyte is formed. From the microspore, male gametophyte is formed. So the female gametophyte in these plants are retained on the parent sporophyte for variable periods, and the development of the zygote into young embryos takes place within the female gametophyte. So this event is precursor to the seed habit, considered an important step in evolution. Very important. This step is considered as an important step in evolution. So which step is precursor to the seed habit? The development of zygote into embryos. The development of zygote into young embryos takes place within the female gametophyte. This step is considered as a precursor to the seed habit. So seed habit will find in the gymnosperms after pteridophytes, next gymnosperms, and angiosperms also will observe the seed habit. The seeds are absent in pteridophytes. So the pteridophytes are further classified into four classes. Silopsida, example Xylotum; Lycopsida, example Selaginella and Lycopodium. So remember as lice. So for the Lycopodium, so remember as lice. So lice, LY represents Lycopodium, SC represents Selaginella, and Spinopsida, Equisetum; Pteropsida, Drabteris, Teris, Adiantum. These are the examples for Pteropsida. So there are four classes: Silopsida and Lycopsida, Spinopsida, Pteropsida. Examples for Pteropsida: Teris, Drabteris, Adiantum. Examples for Spinopsida: Equisetum. Examples for Lycopsida: Selaginella, Lycopodium. Examples for Silopsida: Xylotum is a example for Silopsida, right? So in this pteridophyte, so we need to remember the important step in evolution, that is precursor to seed habit, that is the development of young embryos takes place in the female gametophyte. It is very important, and most of them are homosporous in nature and some are heterospores. And here the prothallus is very important. The prothallus, that is the spores germinate to give rise to inconspicuous, small but multicellular, free living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid is prothallus. So that gametophyte bears sex organs, male and female sex organ. So they require cool, they require water for the fertilization process, and they live in cool, damp, shady places. For that reason, they are restricted to narrow geographical region. Okay. So here the gametophyte bear male and female sex organs called antheridia and archegonia. Water is required for transfer of antherozoids. So here, so fusion of male and a female results in the formation of zygote. So zygote thereafter produces a multicellular, well differentiated sporophyte, which is dominant phase of the pteridophytes. In majority of the pteridophytes, all the spores of similar kinds, that is homosporous. And genera like Selaginella and Salvinia are the heterosporous. Let remember the examples and so diagrams. So here the first diagram is Selaginella. And the second diagram is given Equisetum. It belongs to the Spinopsida, and this is a fern plant. And this one is a Salvinia, very important. Remember the images for the NEET point of view. So spiral leaves are found in this Selaginella. So these are the roots, and these are the leaves without midrib and stem. The leaves are directly associated to the stem. Okay. Next, if you look at into the structure of Equisetum, so this question was previously asked in the NEET examination. So this is the strobilus or cone, and this one is node, and this one is the internode, right? Rhizome, and fern, Salvinia. And here one more important point, that is in pteridophytes, in Pteridophytes. Dryopteris. Dryopteris is underground stem. Rhizome of Dryopteris is underground stem modification. In Pteridophytes, Dryopteris is a rhizome of underground stem modification, that is rhizome of Dryopteris. Right. So this point is not given in our NCERT, but no need to remember this. Next, come to the Gymnosperms. Gymnosperms, very very important. So from this area also we got the question in 2025. Right. So Gymnosperms. So gymnos means naked. Gymnos means naked. Sperma means seeds. So gymnosperms are plants in which the ovules are not enclosed. The ovules are not enclosed. The ovules are not enclosed by any ovary wall and remain exposed both before and after fertilization. So the seeds that develop post fertilization are not covered, that are naked. So gymnosperms include medium sized trees to tall trees and shrubs. So one of the gymnosperms, the giant redwood, very important. The tallest redwood tree is sequoia and the smallest is zamia. So tallest is the sequoia, the smallest is the zamia. So is one of the this sequoia is one of the tallest tree species. So smallest is zamia, and here the roots are generally tap roots, very important. Roots in some genera have fungal association in the form of mycorrhiza, that is Pinus, while in some others Cycas. So in the roots of Pinus, so the genus name is known as a Glomus. Glomus lives in the roots of Pinus. It helps in the phosphorus absorption to the plant, and that association is known as the mycorrhiza. Myco means fungi, rhiza means root. So here, so while in some others, that is in Cycas plant, so Cycas contains small specialized roots called as corolloid roots. Small specialized roots called as corolloid roots. They are associated with the nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria in Cycas. Symbiotic association with blue green algae, that is called cyanobacteria, whereas in Pinus, symbiotic association with fungi. Name of the fungi is the Glomus. Helps in the phosphorus absorption, whereas in Cycas, nitrogen fixation with the help of cyanobacteria. And stems are unbranched in Cycas. This question is also asked in 2025. So stems are unbranched in Cycas and branched in Pinus and Cedrus. So the leaves may be simple or compound. In Cycas, the pinnate leaves persist for few years. The most important thing is the leaves in Gymnosperms can withstand high temperature, humidity, and a wind. Very important. The leaves in Gymnosperms are well adapted to withstand extreme of temperature, humidity, and wind. In conifers, the needle-like leaves reduce the surface area. Their thick cuticle and sunken stomata also help to reduce water loss. In conifers, the needle-like leaves reduce the surface area. Their thick cuticle and sunken stomata also help to reduce water loss. So sunken stomata is present near the uh, lower epidermis. It is a lower, it is a upper epidermis. Okay. The next important thing is so the gymnosperms are heterosporous. The gymnosperms are heterosporous. In bryophytes, all are homosporous. In pteridophytes, majority are homosporous and some are heterosporous. In gymnosperms, all are heterosporous. They produce haploid microspores and megaspores. Haploid microspores and megaspores. So the two kinds of spores are produced within the sporangia. So two kinds of spores are produced within the sporangia that are borne on sporophylls, which are arranged spirally along an axis to form lax or strobili or cone. So the cones are called as the cone may be called as strobili or lax, LAX, very important. The strobili bearing microsporophylls and microsporangia are called microsporangiate or male strobili. The strobili bearing microsporophylls and microsporangia are called microsporangiate or male strobili. The microspores develop into a male gametophytic generation which is highly reduced, very important. The microspores develop into a male gametophyte which is highly reduced and is confined to only limited number of cells. The reduced male gametophyte is called as a pollen grain. The reduced male gametophyte is called as a pollen grain. And the development of pollen grain takes place within the microsporangia. The cones bearing megasporophylls with ovules are called megasporangia. Megasporangia. The cones bearing megasporophylls with ovules or megasporangia are called macrosporangiate or female strobili. The male or female cones or strobili may be born on the same tree. Male or female cones born on same tree. Example, pinus, very important. The male cones or female cones born on same tree. Example, pinus. However, in Cycads, male cones and megasporophylls are born on different trees. In pinus, male and female are produced on the same tree, whereas in Cycads, male cones and megasporophylls are born on different trees. The megaspore mother cell is differentiated from one of the cells of the nucellus. So this nucellus is found in the ovule. In general, in gymnosperms, in gymnosperms, unitegmic ovule is present. Unitegmic ovule, that is only one integument is present. Only one integument is present. There are some exceptions. Those exceptions are not necessary here. Most of the gymnosperms contains only one integument, that is unitegmic, whereas in angiosperms it is bitegmic, outer integument and inner integument. So though they possess nucellus which are rich in food materials, right. So the nucellus here, the megaspore mother cell is differentiated from one of the cells of the nucellus. So the nucellus is protected by envelopes and the composite structure is called an ovule. The ovules are borne on megasporophylls which may be clustered to form the female cones. The megaspore mother cell divides meiotically to form 4 megaspores. One of the megaspores enclosed within the megasporangium develops into multicellular female gametophyte that bears 2 or more archegonia, very important. very important. So here gymnosperms bear 2 or more archegonia. So here that multicellular female gametophyte bears 2 or more archegonia. So we come across the term archegonia in bryophytes, pteridophytes, in gymnosperms. But the antheridium term we observed in bryophyte, pteridophyte, not in gymnosperm. Instead of antheridium, we come across the word pollen grain, right? So here the female gametophyte bears 2 or more archegonia or female sex organs. So here the female gametophyte is retained within the megasporangium, retained within the megasporangium. The most important point, which is repeated many times in the previous examinations, in the objective point of view, that is, unlike bryophytes and pteridophytes, very very important. Unlike bryophytes and pteridophytes, in gymnosperms, the male and the female gametophytes do not have an independent free living existence. Very important. Unlike bryophytes and pteridophytes, in gymnosperms, the male and the female gametophytes do not have an independent free living existence. They remain within the sporangia, retained on the sporophytes. The pollen grain is released from the microsporangium. They are carried in air currents and come in contact with the opening of the ovules borne on the megasporophylls. So here the pollen grain is released from the microsporangium. They are carried in air currents, very important, air currents. That means the pollination is known as a anemophily. Anemophily or anemophilous. Okay, if the pollination occur by means of wind or air, known as anemophilous. In gymnosperms, anemophilous pollination is found. So the pollen grains are carried in air currents and come in contact with the opening of the ovules borne on megasporophylls. The pollen tube carrying the male gametes. Here, how many male gametes are carried by the pollen tube? 2 male gametes. These male gametes are termed as sperm nuclei. Sperm nuclei. In angiosperms also, pollen tube carries 2 male gametes. So double fertilization is a unique feature of angiosperms. Here only one fertilization takes place in gymnosperms. Even though it carries 2 male gametes, these male gametes are termed as sperm nuclei. Sperm nuclei. So that grows towards the archegonia in the ovules and discharge their contents near the mouth of the archegonia. Following fertilization, zygote develops into embryo and ovules into seeds. The seeds are not covered. And here these 2 male gametes, so called as 2 sperm nuclei. So one sperm nuclei disintegrates. That is why only one single fertilization takes place in the gymnosperms. Right? And here the most important point is endosperm. So endosperm is not mentioned here. Right, endosperm. Endosperm in gymnosperms is in angiosperms is triploid, which is post fertilization event in angiosperms. In angiosperms, endosperm is triploid in nature, and which is the post fertilization event, which is a product of a post fertilization event. So the function of endosperm is it nourishes the developing embryo. So whereas in gymnosperms, endosperm is haploid in nature and it is a pre-fertilization event, pre-fertilization event. So remember the difference between the endosperm in gymnosperm, endosperm in angiosperm. In angiosperm, it is triploid because as a result of second fertilization, endosperm is formed. It is a post-fertilization event. And in gymnosperm, it is haploid. It is a pre-fertilization structure. So it provides or nourishes the developing embryo. So this is about the gymnosperms. And come to the angiosperms. So we had already discussed the life cycle of angiosperms in sexual reproduction of flowering plants. So here, unlike gymnosperms, unlike gymnosperms, where the ovules are naked, in the angiosperms or flowering plants, the pollen grains and ovules are developed in specialized structures called flowers. In angiosperms, the seeds are enclosed in fruits. In angiosperms, an exceptionally large group of plants occurring wide range of habitats. They range in size from smallest Wolfia to tall trees of eucalyptus over 100 meters. So Wolfia is the smallest tree and eucalyptus is the largest tree, which can grow over 100 meters. They provide us with food, fodder, fuel, medicines and several other commercially important products, and they are divided into two classes, dicots and monocots. Dicots and monocots. So in gymnosperms, ovules are naked, whereas in angiosperms, ovules are covered. That means covered by ovary wall. After fertilization, ovary become fruit, ovule become seed in angiosperms. So smallest Wolfia, largest eucalyptus, whereas in gymnosperms, the tallest is Sequoia and the smallest is the Zamia. So right, this is about the kingdom Plantae. For the IP point of view, 4 marks questions are very important. So difference between algae, red algae and brown algae, difference between liverworts and mosses, and homosporous and heterosporous pteridophytes and their significance, right? Economic importance of algae and bryophytes, significance of prothallus, and images of liverworts, that is Markantia. Okay, so and this is about the plant kingdom. Very important chapter for NEET point of view. We may get 3 or 4 questions. Very important, right? Thank you.